Hello. So I have here Patrick Moreno, also known as the Lone Wolf. How are you today?
I am excellent. Thank you,
Good,
JC.
good. Okay, so I have a few questions. I would say roughly about 8 of them. I'm hoping to get through them today, but if we don't, that's okay. We can possibly do this another day. So my first question to you is a yes or no answer. Is there money? Yes or no?
That's a great question, but it's not a one word yes or no question. Um, so there is a word called money, and then there's actual money. Um, Actual money is a tangible thing that is found in the United States Code, Title 12, Section 411 of the United States Code, 12 USC 411. Fiat currency is also money. And that's where we sign contracts and we become liable to pay back a debt with a debt. So money exists in the word, in form, it's been diminished, and it is only an accounting figure now. It's not an actual tangible thing. So
Okay.
if I were to say, if I only had one word, I would say, does money exist? Yes, but to get the real answer, you have to break it down and know the different parts.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, what is the W-4 process?
The W-4 process is reporting accounting on the private side under Title 26 that is not reported. So what happens is a signature is turned around at the Treasury window and converted into promises to pay through the form of bonds. And that's a bid bond, payment bond, performance bond. It's a standard form 24, 25, and 25A. And those are converted by attorneys who are the money changers. They are revenuing the money from the private to the public and vice versa. But we're not privy to the private side because we don't know who we are, and we're not entitled to the private side until we are private. So when we go on the public side and we initiate an endorsement, we become the primarily liable party for another man's debt, a stranger's debt. So we become the surety for a stranger, and we don't even know what we did.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. So, my next question to you would be there's several W-4 processes. What makes yours different? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, well, so what I teach is, and there's a lot of people that are teaching trust out there. There's a lot of people just, I mean, $88, you can have a trust, but I mean, what you get some paper and you don't even know what it does, and that's kind of futile because that's exactly what I did when I started discovering all of this. And I paid a lot more money than $88, but you know the education is in knowing who you are, not because people are out there trying to do things that don't belong to us as a responsibility, and we end up doing things and asking for things that we don't even need to ask for. And the other people that are teaching don't fully comprehend it either, because they're teaching people to get involved a little bit. And it's not even a little bit we should get involved. It's we need to give back what we took, and we need to wash our hands of it and be educated that our creator gave us everything that we need. We don't need another man's invention because we're creators ourselves, and we have the unlimited potential to create abundance of anything we want.
Correct. I have to agree with you there. So if I can go back to what you said prior, you said we don't know who we are. Can you elaborate when you say who we are?
Yeah. Well, we're born and we're handed a piece of paper, and just like Puff the Magic Dragon, okay, Jackie Paper, here you go. and, you know, take that to school and give it to the teacher, and we go do that. And then you got to take it and give it to this and give it to them here. And then you take it somewhere and you go sign for it. And then they give you more stuff. And we're just creating more stuff for a company. We're taught to be trustees from the beginning, and we are taught to be registered agents. So we go sign up to be that, and we act this position our entire lives until we realize that there's no money, that there's only accounting. And then, well, then what are we doing all this for? Like, we've been living for a different purpose. We haven't ever been accumulating everything. And how come everything we've ever accumulated has been accumulated and then it just dumped? People just, you know, like we abandon it, or it's taken from us because we lose a job or we get into an unfortunate position. That is not an accident. That's automatically set up to happen like that, so that we have to start over again and someone recovers everything that we left and abandoned. And I mean, it happens in storage units, it happens in divorces, it happens in, you know, I mean, everywhere you look, it's about abandoned property, until people learn that we have the authority to do this, but we got to learn who we are not, so we can make that record, because we've been a presumption of something that wasn't who we are. We're not from our creator right now until we go and correct their record. They're presuming we are wards of the state under, well, I mean, if you look at American Jurisprudence Second, which is also known as Corpus Juris Secundum, the guardian ward relationship, we create that guardian ward relationship by not knowing who we are. And when we go and drop a signature off without any sort of like knowledge, then, well, we're creating a liability and we become responsible for it. So we got to learn who we are. And then once we do that, we address that, and it's not a mystery anymore.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So this is going to go back into, I guess, this is going back to another question that you had said. You had mentioned trust. So can you give me an example of trust? So I'm trying to rephrase this in the question that I want to get out, so the people that watch us can comprehend what I'm saying. So when you say people, we were handed a piece of paper, are you saying like a birth certificate, or what exactly is that piece of paper? And would that be considered a trust, the birth certificate?
Well, the birth certificate isn't a trust itself. The birth certificate is a proof of an existence of something. And so when you look at the document, it appears to have a name that is like the one that was mom and dad had put on the application for the live birth. And that was then put onto a piece of paper, like a car or a truck is put on a title, and it says at the top of it the state that belongs to. Now, the name on that paper is printed in a different printing style. The government printing manual has the spacing in it to where it is a symbol and not a word. You can also look up in the Chicago Manual of Style, 16th edition, foreign languages, and you'll find that it is esoteric. It's a symbol, not a name of something. It is symbolic of something else. And this is evidenced as well in, well, this is Freemasonry. This is how they hide things in plain sight. But you'll find that all of the federal judiciary oaths as well have done the same thing with the capitalization. A capitalization of something is diminishing the name to its maximum. Okay, I'm not going to give the Latin for that, but you can look that up. But it diminishes a name of authority. So the actual most authority is lowercase, but we are still learning, and so we use proper upper and lower case to correct it. And that's part of what I teach as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for that explanation. Okay, so with the W-4 process, if one were to is what liabilities would one face if they were to do another W-4 process other than yours?
Well, it's not mine. I want to be clear on that. I'm
Okay.
just teaching stuff that has already been here. And like you'll hear, I have an explanation because it's just the truth. Equity is what it is. And it doesn't change ever. So you'll see that what has happened is a big process has been convoluted and we've been presumed to have to do this stuff and we're not. But we've created the signature and we can't take the ink out of the paper. We can't suck it up out of the paper and uncreate what we've done, because there's also the securities that are tied with the signature we can't take back. Okay. One thing I want to mention is that none of this is fraud. People say all the time, this is fraud, this is fraud. None of this is fraud. You gave a lump sum of credit to somebody through an agreement somewhere, and you didn't give instructions, and that is not fraud. That is doing what they have to do because they don't have instructions. That's the only options that are there, is to do it the way that it's being done. The W-4 that I teach is reporting the private side, but it's not having any liability on it. These other groups are teaching people how to go and try to create money that doesn't exist, that is going to have to be accountable for at a later time on accounting records. In other words, they're doing stuff that is going to show liability to be a taxpayer to account for the actions that they're doing now at a later time. And they're teaching other people how to go and create accounting that they will have to be accountable for later, because, well, it's been created and it's not their job to do it. So I'm teaching people that it's not your job. This is not your job. The accounting ledger is the crucifix that in the metaphor that Christ had to carry. And the Christos is an oil that helps you ascend as a being in your superpowers, if you will. And if we don't understand or comprehend that that ascension needs to occur, and we give up certain ego things to make that happen, we evolve into something much bigger and beyond what we are. But we're always suppressed and low vibing as long as we don't discover that stuff. Now, the W-4 doesn't teach you how to vibe high. Okay, it doesn't. But it does, it helps you to go in and give a record and straighten a record of who you are not, because you signed up to be a liable party. The other parties, and I'm saying other parties, we're talking about court cases, things like that. The people that are privy to the knowledge, and woe unto you lawyers, for you have hidden the knowledge, and my people will perish for lack of knowledge. The ones that have the knowledge are walking up and redeeming it, and they're making an income for themselves through accounting that's good forever and ever. The ones that don't sit back and continue to give signatures and let people take advantage of them because they don't know any better.
Thank you. Pardon me. So when you say we went around signing things, do you mean signing my car? Like, for example, if I was to go purchase a car, that I just signed my name to purchase a car. So is that an example of what you mean, just signing,
It's
and
an
that's not
example.
fraud?
Yeah. So purchasing a car is an application, right?
Correct.
So you apply for what? What do you apply for? A job, right?
Right.
There's
Okay.
no money. So
Right.
every application you're doing is an application for credit, to extend credit. And the money system is actually in that way of employment. Women are getting paid, or the credit is given on the signature up until their expected life expectancy, which is 72. Men are 75. So the credit is issued at the time the application for employment is made, up to that age. And when we leave that job, we abandon that credit because we don't even know it exists there.
Wow. Thank you for explaining that. So my next question to you would be, when you say it's accounting and not filing, can you explain the difference in the two?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no money. So when you say I'm putting $10 worth of food into my body. I mean, how do you account for that? There's no money. So you have to do numbers somehow. And they only know numbers. I was talking to somebody who was incarcerated, and I was explaining to them that they are a number that's there, and they're there because they created an obligation that they just sit there in a warehouse until that obligation is fulfilled. But it never was theirs until they correct the record, then it's going to be remaining outstanding. And this is again, it's a matter, people get offended. It shouldn't be an offensive thing, not knowing who you are, because we're constantly going through this journey, learning who we are all the time. We learn something new about us every day, and we change all the time. We're forever evolving in an amazing way. So it's nothing to be ashamed of in not knowing our identity. We're constantly evolving in our identities, in our evolution of who we are as beings. And we're improving our X-ray vision and our ability to be invisible and all, like, you know what I mean? I'm joking, but you know what I mean? It's like all of our abilities that no one talks about, or people are afraid to say that they can do, because people will think they're weirdos, is all okay, because it's how you were supposed to be in the first place.
Like Superman, right?
Yeah.
No, it's true. I mean, I would have to agree with you there. Through my research and studying myself, I've been learning about, stuff being put in the toothpaste to block our third eye and whatnot. So,
Calcification of the pineal gland. Yep.
correct. That's correct. Okay, so my next question to you would be, so if there's no real money, could you, what is equivalent to being called money, and what is being considered right now as money?
So, okay. So when I say there's no money, I'm talking about there's no money on the public side. The private side, well, we're all given unlimited whatever we need. So the money is not something we're going to just tangibly touch. But what they're doing is accounting on the public side and conversion of money from legal to lawful money under 12 USC 411 on the private side. So if you know how to do that, you can set up the same and operate the same. This is commerce. This is business. This is a matter of setting up a business and learning how to operate different positions as one, because a trust is more than one party, and it involves some sort of obligation or duty to perform something on behalf of someone else. That's what a trust is. And so when everything we're doing is creating a trust, when we create a contract, it's always a trust. Because there is no tangible money you're giving them, there's nothing that they can give you back except a receipt, right? So we don't ever get back a receipt, and our record is all that we have. So we give that up. You're giving a signature and the record that we gave it to them, both. So when they have both of it, we have no interest in anything anymore. So when I talk about equitable interest is something that we can always create, and it belongs to us. Our creator gave it to us. And when you feed your body, you have an equitable interest in that, but no one's ever told you to be accountable for yourself. No one's ever told you to have value in yourself, which is the paradigm that the whole entire, well, the places that want to govern mental are the ones that are controlling the narrative of that. So as we realize that, we can start to change things. So we're not a part of that organization or group anymore. It was never intended for us. And we just become a part of it by default because we don't know how to speak up and we don't know who we are. Right. So that's what I teach.
Thank you. So where would one be able to find you if they wanted to follow through with the W4 process?
So we have the W4 group on Lonewolf's pack. which is on the W4 Telegram channel. You can also go to the website. We have lonewolfspack.org, LONEWOLFSPACK.org. And we have different memberships on there where people can go from level 1 to just getting information on the site to, we have several members, well, hundreds of members that are on the level 4, which is teaching trust. I teach trust and operation of trust every single week. So people are learning how to create who they really are. They're learning who they are at the time. They're making records of who they're not, and then they're making a new record of who they really are. Because like I said, it's not people that believe they know who they are come and they say, yeah, I know who I am. And then we sit down after an hour and they're like blown away, and they don't, they've got to go rethink some things. And then suddenly they have a different perspective. And what I teach is that right now, people are only given the lenses to see from looking at a clock from like 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And I'm not trying to open up your expansion to the other side until you're ready, but I just want you to look to 5 and 6 o'clock and see what's down there. And then once you start realizing that there's more to it, then you can start turning around as you feel it deems appropriate, because you'll find that once you discover who you are, there's no one that can order you and boss you around and tell you that you're something else. And you'll see that suddenly things that were super important to you before they don't mean anything because they never were important before. They never were intended to be, but people told you where to focus and you listened. So
Right. Makes sense. So my next question would be to you is, what results can one expect by following through with the W4 process?
So the W4 process has different results, and the reporting is always done on the private side. What happens on the public side, and this is where people are misled by a lot of the W4 stuff, is that if there is no impropriety, if they haven't done any accounting wrong, then nothing is going to change. If accounts get paid off, it's because they've been doing the accounting improperly and you're snitching them out, if you will. And that is zeroing the account. But the thing is that the W4 isn't the end all to everything. It is the beginning. It is like the gateway for you to learn how to take control of the stuff. So you're making a reporting on the private side for something that's never been reported before. And as such, you're learning to go on the private side to do more, but that's just the gateway. That's the beginning to making the reporting. And then you go and make notices in equity so that you have a proper record and no one can tell you that, you're liable for something that you didn't even create.
Thank you. So not only do you, I think I went over 8 questions, but that's okay. So not only do you teach the W4, but you also have steps in place for people to protect themselves and create their records of claiming who they are for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the W4 process is not, people come to us and they have issues right now. And so we've created something that has allowed them to report on the private side, the accounting. Now, there is no liability in this. I want to be clear on that because we're not endorsing anything on this. We're leaving it open for a fiduciary to endorse it. The people that are doing this outside in other groups are teaching endorsement. They're teaching other stuff that is accountability stuff. And there's no, we have no indemnification clause or indemnity bond in case something goes wrong and we harm someone in our actions. So it's not a good idea to be doing these things that people are doing. You're creating a record that you can go back and stand on. You're saying, here's a report. You're putting a red flag on something for someone to go look at it, a neutral third party, which is the IRS, to go look at the accounting. If there's any impropriety, they take care of it because they're the fiduciaries in the transaction. A lot of these people get stuff that when they do the W4, these other groups are misleading them because they get the return mail as a frivolous filing. The frivolous filing is a test to see if you know who you are. It is a confirmation. It's saying, are you sure that you're the man and you want to do what you're doing, or do you want to remain a taxpayer? People don't see it as that. See, we're seeing the perception of, oh no, I'm in trouble, not I need to stand on my ground to confirm who I am, because this is a test in my ability to discern between fiction and reality. And am I going to stand with my creator, or am I going to run back to another man's creation? That is the difference in what I teach. I teach you beyond. The W-4 is just a reporting, but there's way more beyond that, because you're learning who you are. Right now, you've abandoned everything you've ever, like employment, you never did anything in accounting after you left an employer. So all that accounting is all yours and you're entitled to it. So we teach you how to go and fix it on the public side, so you can go and get the accounting on the private side. Once you do that, then you're in a whole different world. You're never the liable party, but we don't know how to say no in terminology that these corporations understand, because we're dealing with laws under private companies, not under constitutions. We're dealing with emergency banking powers, not rules that people believe that they have a book to. We're dealing with the Trading with the Enemy Act, which suspends all of the things that people believe they have. So they're not even looking in the right direction to find resolution.
Thank you. So when people are getting these codes back from the IRS, the normal person reporting a W-4 that's just coming into this is going to be, they're going to have that fear that's put into them because we've been indoctrinated to be so scared of the IRS.
Yeah. Well, and other groups are fear mongering on that, saying, oh, they led you wrong. They did you wrong. You did it wrong. And you shouldn't have done this document or this. Well, you didn't sign anything. So there's nothing wrong. Okay. There's no endorsement on it. And your good faith is right on the front of the document that we give a cover letter for, to explain everything we're doing. So these people have all taken parts of what I've taught and used it. There's people that claim that this was their process in the beginning, and I laugh at that, because I didn't know that they were around before the IRS, and they actually they must have given the IRS the idea, because and the IRS adopted it. So I mean, they should be getting some sort of credit, I would think, if they know who they are, but apparently that's an issue too. So we won't get into that, but
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I'm sorry that I went over, but I'm just bringing more questions. So an indication of a receipt, you said earlier. So if I get a receipt from a store, is that an indication that I have something in trust, since there is
well,
no?
let me ask you this. In 1933, 1934, when they were issuing silver certificates and you brought silver up to the window, what did they give you?
A receipt. So the receipts are an indication that you left something behind.
Receipt is a proof of something, yes, of a deposit of something that someone somewhere is entitled to when they have the knowledge.
Okay, thank
And
you.
I will tell you, just by default, as I said, when you drop off something without instructions, those who are privy to the knowledge can go back and claim them. If you don't claim them, they default to the state. So when you go and are doing receipts, these are businesses that are tied to the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State is a state of whatever, which is the property of or a subsidiary of the District of Columbia. So it's all one company you're doing business with, even though you have all these subsidiaries. And even if you create your own company, you are the United States, because your company is registered and titled to them. They give you permission to operate in their commerce world. So a country, for example, someone from a different country, I get this quite often, that's just a different company you have business with. It's not a country at all. It's a different company, and people get naturalization paperwork and come over here to be doing commerce in this company. It's not a country. So being clear on that, and this can be done, you can fix all this with naturalizations as well. People from different countries are running into problems. So that can all be fixed. It's just a matter of a record once you learn who you are.
So it sounds to me that you're saying that we're all foreign.
Well, we are foreign, but we use domestic documentation that changes a record and we don't know how to fix it. We don't even understand it. We
Right.
don't know that there is no tangible money with what we're doing. We're only able to make credit on signatures right now. So until we learn that, then everything we own, even houses, cars, everything is titled to someone else. And a
So,
mortgage is nothing more than a promise to pay something that is already paid for. And when you sign at the closing table, that mortgage is paid for right away. They're creating a contract, a purchase contract after that to pay in installment notes, and that's your consent.
so you're saying here that not most of the world don't know that they don't own their home, right? They don't, okay,
Yeah, look on the deed. It says that you're a tenant.
okay.
It
Thank you.
says right there. Yep.
Thank you. So now
It's
when,
fixable. It can be fixed. It can be fixed with knowledge. People just got to learn. All this stuff can be fixed. It's just a matter of having the knowledge and investing a little time in yourself, and reading. You got to read. You got to learn, because everything is hidden in. Well, you'll find hidden in history, but
in the
even the
book,
history books are hidden. The stuff in the history has been hidden through revisions of books.
do you have a suggestion for people? Could you name one or two books that people could start reading into to learn a little bit about this stuff?
Um, well, The Art of Passing the Buck is a really good book. Um, I really dig that. There is the learning equity is key. People got to learn that all of the things that were organic, the truth is always going to be the truth. Everything else after that is color of law. So they're going to change the color to be whatever they want it to be, but the truth is always the truth. So when you learn to speak the truth in a way that is above and superior to their communication, then we have an advantage, and we can do things beyond what we ever imagined.
Thank you. You're saying color of law. So could you elaborate on that more? When you say color, I'm thinking like a black and white color.
No,
Purple.
statutes, rules, and codes are color of law. So when they are ruling on a case, when you're in their company and you are in a controversy with whomever or them, I say them being the state of or the municipality, you always are the liable party in that. So until we correct a record, we're going to go in and be responsible for something that someone else created. And that's where we're not supposed to be the surety for a stranger.
Thank you. So my next question, and then we'll get ready to wrap this up if that's okay. Do you offer one-on-ones, or is there some kind of consult that somebody can speak with you individually if they have an immediate concern or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't like 11th hour stuff, because this is stuff that people have created before, that, I understand it needs to be fixed, but I don't like those because of that. And I'm not going to hide and pretend that I do. I'll help people, and I don't mind giving people help in any way. I want to help anyone that I can. But I do offer consults, one-on-ones with people, in providing remedy to their issues. And each situation is individual. So I can't give like one class and say, okay, everybody go do this.
Right.
It has to be your desires and where you want to be. Some people just want to get out and be done. Some people want to, create a trust where they're going to have protection for their families for future generations. And so that's a legacy trust will be something that is implemented for that type of situation. But there's different situations for different individuals, and each party is at a different place. I talked to somebody that was going through a separation with somebody that they were involved with, and so they're learning how to make interest in a property that they have, real property that they have, and personal property that they have, and make the record of that, because, well, right now it's considered abandoned. And their own titles, even their own certificates of live birth, are abandoned property until we learn to claim them. They don't realize that the notice in the paper for the baby being born is notice of abandoned property that no one ever goes and claims. So that's the initiate point, that we need to learn that something is out there. And those notices are just, even the most subtle things, when you hear an announcement on the TV news about something that's really big and change, it's a notice to see if people are going to object. So it's all a test. We're all being tested all the time. Yeah, we're all being tested to see if we know who we are. And if we know who we are, we're not going to stand for someone to oppress us. We're not going to stand for that. In fact, we have unlimited credit, but we're issuing credit without any sort of stipulation on how to use it. So it's being used against us to oppress us through voters registration applications, through any type of application for driver's licenses, making you trustees of the state.
So that's why we're required to register our vehicles, our children, because when we register things, we're giving them away.
Yep, you're surrendering ownership to them for someone else to control, and you become a secondary party, or secondarily eligible to whatever that benefit is.
Thank you. So I get my last question to end this today would be, from my comprehension, there's several types of trusts out there. One would be able to contact a lawyer and say, hey, I want to set up a trust. Can you explain the difference in the two for me before we end this, for people to comprehend?
So your comprehension of trust needs to be brought to an attorney if you're going to have an attorney do it. But you have to know how you want it done. You have to tell them how you want it done, because they don't know the equitable trusts, or if they do, they're not going to share it with you to do. So you have to be able to explain who you are, and you have to be able to, well, let me just say, the means that I teach you is going into equity so that you can go and receive the ownership of the title from the people that created it. So they're actually surrendering the title. And with that surrender, they create a trust based upon your wishes, because you know what you want, because you know who you are. That's where the key to all of this redemption comes in.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful that you sat down to do this interview today, and hopefully people will reach out to you and follow through with this process and learn more about who they are.
Yeah, you know what? That's all I ask, is that people get involved in realizing that there's things that go on that are around you that we're not paying attention to, and until we start paying attention to those things that exist around us, we're not going to ever come out of this slumber of lack of knowledge. It's not hard. It's right there. It's all available for everyone to use, but you have to know it exists. You have to accept it, and you have to utilize it the way that the creator gave you to utilize it. So it's a knowledge. Everybody can get it.
So it's like, come out of her, my people. So that's what you're
Absolutely.
come out of her,
Yep.
my people. Thank you.
Yep.
So, okay, would you, my last question, if you don't mind, would you entertain another interview maybe later down the road?
Yeah, we can talk about that. My schedule is like super busy, but
No worries.
we'll do what we can. Yeah, I mean, we've got I got classes that I teach every Sunday, and then we've got I'm also on the open mic 5 days a week. I try to do that Eastern, 5 p.m. Eastern time, and that's on Telegram. So we'll have links to that stuff on the website so people can get to that.
And I'll make sure I put links too in the bottom of the interview so people can click on it and go right to your website and to the Telegram group.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Awesome.
Stacey.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
Thank you, JC.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Oh, wait.
Bye-bye.
Let me see.